r/askreddit. Hey shy people, what is your worst experience?
Going to a crowded party with one friend who really wanted to drag you along but then disappears.
Exactly this. But instead, it was all the proms I was dragged to. Every time the people who wanted me there literally left me alone the whole time. The first time I just stayed in the bathroom and cried. The other 2 times I just sat at a table and waited. Had a few random people come to ask me if I was okay. Like, why drag your shy introvert friend to prom and ditch them?
Movies tell us that you really want to be there, but you just lack confidence and that we'll all be your hero once you're there and you meet Freddie Prinze Jr. and he asks you to go steady with him.
In my high school Spanish class, some kid screamed, "Do you ever talk at me in front of the entire class?" Super embarrassing at the time, but hilarious to look back on. Edit. For those curious, I said nothing in response. If only I could go back in time.
Similar thing happened to me. I sat at the back of the room and answered the register too quiet. Had to repeat myself a couple times and then just raise my hand. Guy on the table next to me jokingly asked his friends if I can talk. Hated answering for attendance ever since. I am a bit shy when first meeting people, so after getting to know me, I often hear when I first met you, "I thought you were such a bitch." Cool.
In 4th grade, I was in a new school and most of the girls avoided me BC. They thought I was a bully, found out in 5th grade. I was so sad BC, I thought no one wanted to be my friend and that they hated me. I cried and begged my mum not to let me go to the Christmas party. When school reopens, they were like, "Why didn't you come? We missed you." When you talk and people say things like, "Oh, I didn't know you could talk," or "This is the first time I hear you talking."
In the same vein as this, when I was a shy kid instead of a shy adult, I'd spend quite a while in my bedroom in order to get personal space away from my family, who are all chatterboxes. Almost every time I finally came out into the family room for a little bit of socializing, everyone would always make a huge deal of seeing me. "I didn't even know you were here. Wow, she's socializing. She's out of her cave," and so many other things always said so derisively, always made me just want to go back into my room to hide.
The worst part about this is that there's really nothing you can say to make it better. If you mention how it makes you feel, suddenly you are the asshole, so you just have to laugh and pretend to not be offended.
I was in elementary and took a bus home each day. I missed my stop and I was so terribly shy and quiet the bus driver didn't hear me. He went on to pick up high school students and didn't notice I was still on the bus. The high school students were so sweet and kind. They alerted the bus driver and he took me home. My mom was freaking out by the time I got home.
Happened to me too. Effing wackiest crap I ever experienced. I expected these older kids to be dicks, then they're the nicest folks ever. Putting a year's worth of confidence into a job interview just to be the quiet one after you get the job. The anxiety, dude.
Yep, same happened to me. During my interview, they told me I was bubbly and personable. For the first 3 days on the job, they kept asking if I was okay and if I was sick because I was so quiet. No, you've just grossly misunderstood who I am a person. Starts college, doesn't make friends. Lockdown, shit's fucked.
While going to college, I interned for the state's largest business development corporation. In a meeting with C-suite executives, the top dog was just making friendly conversation before we got started and asked me what classes I was taking. To set the picture, I am just the P&Note taker and would never expect anyone to even notice that I was there, let alone put me on the spot with a long table of successful professionals staring at me. I blacked out. Zero brain function. I mumbled a few inaudible grunts and ums before having no choice but to admit that I couldn't remember. Oh my dog, I wanted to die. The looks of confusion and the awkward century that it took to switch topics amongst themselves still haunts me before bed. Yeah, I can understand.
I was at a friend's house. His parents used to scare me. The dad had a thick Asian accent and due to my nerves, I guess I wasn't paying attention. Didn't realize the dad was full on asking how I was and I just stood there awkwardly. I thought he was speaking to his son in Cantonese. I still think about this. I never corrected my boss when she mixed up my name on the first day. I had already introduced myself to some people by my real name. The other half of people my boss introduced me to called me another. I felt too shy to correct her in front of the group. It just led to more awkward conversations as the two names were completely different.
Mandatory speech class when I was a freshman in college. I'd do the thing, then go back to my dorm and throw up. Really freaked out my roommate, who I barely spoke to, 5 speeches that semester. I really effing hate public speaking with a passion. For my speaking exam in year 10, I was allowed to do it with just the teacher and a couple friends of my choice to be the audience. Then in year 11, we was told they lost our results, so we had to do it again. I cried in class, but was too shy to tell anyone why. Had to do it in front of the whole class, but was allowed to just stand at my desk. Didn't help much, and I still hate it.
I remember this. I felt really bad because some people were visibly shaking when they did theirs in my class. I managed to hold it together and pretend it was like any other thing. In those situations, I try to sound casual but also unenthusiastic to display my annoyance to the teacher that I don't like to do this shit.
Okay, everyone. Before we begin, why don't we go around the room and tell us a little about yourselves? My Dave is name and working. Happy? Everyone.
Graduating basic training and having to walk across the stage, stop at the mic, execute a left face turn, state my name in the mic with a short pause between first and last name as a cue for the next row of guys to walk up. I completely fucked it up in front of everyone. Went to shake my drill sergeant's hand as a formality of the ceremony, and he whispered to me way to F that up in front of everyone. Dipshit, F off back to your seat. I effing hate public speaking. Sounds exactly like my drill sergeant's LOL.
My by far worst experience was living together with a roommate. I wasn't able to talk to them, and I thought they hate me.
What happened after? I'm also in similar situation.
I'm still in it, so I would be glad if you have an answer. Haha.
Sat at the back of the class in Spanish, when the teacher from the front asks a question. Being the little nerd I was in school, my hand shut up. The teacher then looked over, pointed directly at me and said, "Senorita, I was a very feminine, underdeveloped and late through puberty 15-year-old boy with longer than usual hair." I stopped answering any teacher's questions willingly from that point.
I was very small for my age and had a similar experience in 5th grade. I liked having long hair, and it grew in big golden ringlets that hung down to my shoulders. All the moms thought I was adorable and couldn't keep their hands off. There would always be at least one wanting to touch my hair. They'd run their fingers through it and say, "Look at those curls," or "Look how they shine in the sun," or "The girls must be so jealous," and so on. I just wanted to be left alone, but they couldn't help themselves, apparently. It was very annoying. The worst, though, was the day we had a guest speaker who wanted to interact with the students, so he started off by asking questions. I put my hand up along with some other kids, and the man said yes, in the front, the pretty little girl with the yellow curls. Everyone laughed, and I had to start my answer with first, "I'm a boy."